Ubisoft is so bad at games, they're even ruining their old ones now. Holy crap. So what kind of precedent does this set for, what are we, just a little over a month, like 5 weeks away from the release of Shadows? Oh, it's going to be so delicious to watch them implode as a company in 2025, but we got to deal with the news that we have right now before we can look too far into the future. So Assassin's Creed Origins reviews plummet amid game-breaking updates, while Shill Access Media calls it review bombing. I can't play the game that for some reason I would want to play that's like a decade old at this point. Now, I've been seeing on social media, I think it's mostly been Pirate Nation, shout out to him, is sharing around some clips of some games that are like 10, 15 years old, looking better than a lot of current releases. But I didn't play Origins when it first came out. That was after the gap from when I stopped caring about Assassin's Creed, and well, it just looked like a gritty reboot. Hey, we're going back to the desert, we're gonna do Egyptian pyramid diving. It's like, oh, okay, cool, I guess that'll be fun. Well, we got stripped down UI. It's like, okay, cool, but what about the gameplay? It's basically the same. We just took a couple of years off. All right, bet. Ubisoft troubles have mounted into 2025 with the PC version of Assassin's Creed Origins becoming the latest casualty of the company's ongoing woes. Steam users have flooded the game with negative reviews, dropping its most recent review rating to mixed. Interesting, because, yeah, in recent months, like Unity, okay, a game that is, what, like 5 years older than Origins, yeah, that had gotten a recent resurgence, and it has become overwhelming. I don't think it's got to overwhelmingly positive, but it's definitely rose in estimations from its original buggy release. But if you updated a game and you've made it considerably worse, I mean, recent reviews, and that's one of the good things about Steam reviews, okay? The only time that we've ever seen it really get messed with was kind of with the release of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, where things were looking a little bit funny, but when you have enough of a track record available, yeah, the most recent reviews and the all-time reviews, that definitely does let you know what you're dealing with here, and it's probably the best way to aggregate reviews, because you get people of all types of experience with the games. People who have continuously played the game over and over and over again, people that have amassed hundreds of hours in a game, or people that are just giving their first impressions. It also gives you an hour count on the top of it, letting you know if somebody is just fresh off the street going, oh, this game sucks, I didn't like it because my specs are bad and I can only get it to play at 15 FPS. It's like, well, if you want to tell me that the game is poorly optimized because you have an excellent rig, well, that's one thing. Or if you want to do like a Jim Sterling type review, or whatever he's calling himself this week, that freak, you got a game-breaking glitch, you're going to go ahead and give Senua's Sacrifice a 1 out of 10, you fat oaf. That's totally within your purview, but then that could also be offset by people who have had the opportunity to play the game and will give a detailed breakdown of it. But leave it to IGN to run cover for big company, because they still want access to Shadows, and they'll be able to tell you how great it is. What are the odds that it gets at least an IGN out of 10? I'm already marking it down. It's going to be getting an 8 out of 10. No more, no less. But anyways, some legacy access media outlets, including IGN, have characterized this as review bombing. It's important to challenge this label. What we're witnessing isn't a coordinated campaign to unfairly tank the game's reputation, which at this point in time, it's like, yeah, it's one of those reboot Assassin's Creeds, but I thought it was always considered to be one of the better ones. I think maybe Odyssey is fine. I don't hear too many people complain that much about Valhalla. But anyways, backlash stems from a November Windows 11 update, okay, version 24H2, that rendered several Ubisoft titles, including Origins, Valhalla, okay, and Star Wars Outlaws unplayable. But to be completely honest, it's like, well, that was Star Wars Outlaws to begin with, so who could have even told by the update? Issues range from black screens and freezing to game failing to launch altogether. Microsoft acknowledged the severity of the problems, implementing a compatibility block on Windows updates for affected systems, and recommending users avoid manual installation of version 24H2. Thank God I haven't updated to Windows 11. Ubisoft, meanwhile, scrambled to address the fallout, issuing fixes for Outlaws and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Oh yes, getting on top of the very important titles instead of the ones that, generally speaking, have a more favorable perception. Because we know all about Outlaws, okay? Covered it extensively in 2024. But yeah, the Avatar game, it kind of came and went like the movies have. But hey, there's another one coming out this year. Aren't you looking forward to it? However, Origins and the other Assassin's Creed titles remain unplayable for many, with no definitive resolution in sight. I guess they're trying to piss off their existing player base and going, don't worry guys, there's a new Assassin's Creed coming out, so if you need to have that itch scratched, you can just wait a little while longer and you can play another buggy mess that's on the horizon. Players turning to Steam reviews to voice their grievances is a natural consequence of this prolonged silence and inaction. Yeah, which, okay, I can go ahead and draw another parallel with another game that is out there, actually a couple of a bundle of games rather that recently got updates, okay, and that would be the Final Fantasy VII Remake project. Yes, you know, where it got some interesting updates recently. In the past couple of weeks, it got Speaking of Rebirth, and I would imagine that all of those updates are going to be coming to the PC version when it drops on the 23rd. I can't wait. But from what I can tell, there's a fast forward through cutscenes option, which I've definitely employed now that I'm running through, not so much running through the hard mode playthrough, but because I know that I'm going to be playing it again on PC, I'm just getting through it as quickly as possible with, the 2 times playback speed on the cutscenes. I've seen 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on the, playthroughs I've watched outside of my own time spent in the game. It's like, I don't really need to watch them in detail, especially the first part of the game where the plot hasn't really kicked in yet. I'm just getting to a point where now the plot's going to be coming in. So yeah, I've employed it. I thought that it's a really cool update, and that dropped alongside a fast start option for Remake, where you start at a higher level, you get some material, you get some, big handouts at the beginning. So hopefully, that'll get you through the normal playthrough. So if you want to get to hard quicker, I guess that's a way that you could do it, which is of course the superior way to play the game. But I say all of that to say this: there were a couple of hiccups in the implementation, and within the next couple of days, they went back and fixed it, because that patch got applied to the PS5 version of Rebirth. And then, of course, for Remake, you had the different releases that are out there that got patched in the next couple of days because of it. And because they have a good community manager, a good community reputation, they didn't ruffle any feathers, they didn't piss anybody off, they fixed it as quickly as the problems arose. The same thing that happened with Rebirth, with its launch, when there were a couple of, iffy textures and some lighting was making some things look awfully ghoulish. There was a patch that got released, and then that ended up, for whatever reason, blocking off the final side quest. And as soon as that got discovered, it didn't take very long for them to turn that back around and fix that. One company and one development team that cares about their product. And then we got Ubisoft on the other hand. Negative reviews for Assassin's Creed Origins begin to spike in December and peaked as 2025 began. The content of these reviews consistently highlight the same problem. The game simply doesn't work. Yeah, it's a problem. Unlike traditional review bombing campaigns where scores are deliberately tanked for reasons unrelated to the product itself, that's not necessarily true, because it could be, like Star Wars Outlaws, where the game doesn't work and it's just bad even if it does, but whatever. Controversial business practices or political stances, I guess you could use that definition, but whatever. And these reviews focus squarely on the game's functionality or lack thereof, which is always what I'm trying to push for whenever we're talking about these games. It's like, they're just like, Outlaws is really bad, it's buggy, and its script is written in crayon. When Ubisoft tried to fix the stealth, they just removed it from the game. It's like, it's a disaster. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, oh my god, those characters are atrocious. The gameplay is repetitive at best, and the UI and the gaming experience is nauseating. Not to mention that it's all infused with the message. That's where I differ from the people that are constantly going, oh, there's a black girl that's in there that makes it woke. Oh my god, there's a suspicious amount of women. We need to get rid of that. No. You're going to tell a good story, I don't care what your protagonist looks like. I love the story of Barrett in Rebirth. I'm not a gigantic black guy. Doesn't matter. When players purchase a game, they expect it to perform as advertised. If the game becomes unplayable due to external factors, whether a third-party update or the developer's oversight, it's not just fair but necessary for customers to leave honest reviews reflecting their experience. Yeah, I bought this game. They updated it. Don't buy it right now because it doesn't work. Hold on until they fix it, and if they don't, never buy this because you can't play it. You're wasting your money. IGN's insistence that this was a review bombing campaign is exactly what you would expect from the Shill sites, which are now just simply trying to silence any dissenting opinions. Who would have thought? Because you got Assassin's Creed news account wants to remove grifters from gaming. Oh no. And because they never want to offer a clear and concise definition of what they actually mean as grifters, I mean, it's anybody that they disagree with politically, people that don't want to have over-the-top preachy messaging in games. It's like, yeah, the people that are against that stuff, oh, they're just grifters because they don't actually play games. They don't care about the health of the industry. They're just there to I don't know, make YouTube videos about it, as opposed to just screech on social media and then post about how you're a she, him, they, them, link in bio, flags, and nameplate psychopath. Yeah, but it's the other side that are grifters, right? Assassin's Creed news account declared it wants to remove so-called grifters from gaming. X account using 3s and L's, just hold it. Enough. I've watched long enough. I'm not going to let the grifters turn my hobby into nothing. Oh, are we at this point in the life cycle when it comes to gaming where, these subversionist types have now got inside the gates and are trying to kick everybody else out? Meanwhile, whenever there's games and their sensibilities that are held up, their games always just go down in a glorious fire and never end up lasting an entire year. Or in the case of Concord, not even lasting a month, 2 weeks, in fact. Yeah, okay, cool. There's no room in the Assassin's Creed community for racism, misogyny, hate, agitation, lies, or death threats. Oh, see, they want to go ahead and put that last one in there because it's agreeable to everybody. But at this point in time, it's like you've already poisoned the well. Okay. Shadows is going to suck. And this whole push for toxic positivity isn't going to work because you don't want lies in the Assassin's Creed fandom. I mean, just take a look at how they're constructing their narrative. And I'm not talking about, the way that the game is being perceived, but the story, the plot, and the characters. You take a look at that, and there's nothing but lies coming out of the creative, so that's an interesting one to reconcile with. One of the users responded, what if there's people who just don't like the fact that a company refuses to respect a culture and its history, but isn't trying to promote racism, misogyny, hate, etc.? Ironically, the account replied, if you say it in a normal way, it's fine. See, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I despise these people because they're just so stupid. It's a tacit admission that it is Ubisoft, the developer of Assassin's Creed Shadows, who is promoting and pushing much of the things the account accuses so-called grifters of doing. Yes, the evidence of Ubisoft doing so is a very long. First, the company worked with author Thomas Lockley to promote the idea of one of the game's main characters, Yasuke, as a legendary samurai. Yes, we've talked about him before. He is a phony intellectual and armchair researcher that Ubisoft employed in order to lend credibility to an elevated position in history that Yasuke was so much more than the history books proclaimed. But yeah, just going back down the list, I mean, putting a black guy over an Asian protagonist, you could call that diversity, inclusion, and equity. I would say that's racism, but hey, tomato, tomato, customer, bootlicker, whatever you want to put it. Hate, attacking your audience and then having to come out with a big apology note after the fact, like they did to the fans in Japan who immediately denounced the announcement of the game. I mean, there's somewhere else that you could go. Agitation, please, constantly going back and forth on historical accuracy, lies, and then, of course, misogyny by making Naomi a shinobi when she never should have been. This game is going to be a disaster, and yeah, with the idea that Ubisoft is now ruining their old Assassin's Creed games, what makes you think that Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't going to be the biggest disaster in the company's history? I can't wait. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.